If you're about to drop 10, 15, $20,000 on a new HVAC system, stop. Before you do anything, before you sign anything, before you pick a brand, before a salesperson in a clean polo tells you why their system is best, here it is. I've installed and serviced every major brand, and I have no brand loyalty. I don't care what it says on the sticker on the outside of your house. What I care about is whether the system was installed correctly, because that, not the logo, decides whether your equipment lasts 8 years or 20. That being said, you're going to hear brand names thrown around. So let's run through the big six: who owns who and what you're actually paying for. These are not in any particular order. These are just the ones that I've put them in. We'll go from there. Number one, Carrier. Founded in 1915, Willis Carrier actually invented modern AC in 1902. Carrier Global Corporation, which is the parent company, spun off in 2020. A lot of its manufacturing is in Indianapolis, but they've actually moved a big majority of it to Monterrey, Mexico. There's about 8 plants there right now. Their sub brands, and this matters: Payne, Bryant, Day and Night, Tempstar, Heil, Comfort Maker, Arco Air, and Keep Right. The tier structure: Carrier is the premium flagship. Bryant is the mid-tier workhorse. Same parent, shared engineering, slightly different feature set. Payne, Day and Night, Tempstar, Heil, these are their value builder grade lines. Same basic guts across the family, different badging and warranties. And here's the thing: Carrier is the name homeowners recognize most, and you pay for that recognition. A Bryant unit is often the same core equipment for less money. You're buying a badge. Just know that, and you'll see a bit of that trend as we go through this. Lennox, founded in 1895 in Marshalltown, Iowa. Dave Lennox built the first riveted steel furnace. The parent company is Lennox International, still independent, not owned by a bigger conglomerate. Manufacturing is primarily in the US. Their sub brands are Allied Air, Armstrong, Air Ease, Concord, Duquesne, Airflow, and Magic Pack. Lennox is the premium top brand. Armstrong and Air Ease are their mid tier. Duquesne and Concord and Airflow are more their value builder line. What's different about Lennox is they use proprietary parts, more than most competitors. When something breaks, you're often waiting for a Lennox specific part rather than a universal one. Great equipment, but the repair costs and wait times can sting compared to many other brands, who have more off the shelf parts and components. Number three, Trane. Founded in 1913 in La Crosse, Wisconsin, James Trane started a plumbing shop in 1885. His son Reuben pushed them into HVAC manufacturing. The parent company, Trane Technologies, spun off from Ingersoll Rand. American Standard is a sub brand, which is nearly identical to Trane. Same factory, same parts, different badge. What I mean by that is I've actually been to Trane's manufacturing facility and seen the Trane furnace come off the assembly line and the American Standard furnace come off the assembly line. They are the exact same furnace with a different badge put on it. It's really kind of interesting to see. So you've got Trane, American Standard, and then you also have Run True, Ameristar, and Oxbox. The tier structure: Trane is the premium line. American Standard is also a premium twin, seeing as most units are nearly indistinguishable from each other. Run True is a mid-tier value play. Ameristar and Oxbox are entry-level builder grade. If a homeowner is quoted Trane versus American Standard and the Trane is thousands more, they're paying for a name. The compressors in most Trane residential units are rebadged Copeland scroll compressors, which are in plenty of other brands too. It's not that Trane isn't good equipment, it's that American Standard is the same equipment. Number four, Daikin, formerly known as Goodman, founded in 1975 in Houston, Texas. Harold Goodman started as an AC contractor, then began manufacturing. So I need to clarify something here. Daikin was actually formed in 1924 in Osaka, Japan. They purchased Goodman in 2012. Goodman originally started in 1975, and so that's kind of why I had a little bit of a issue with what was going on here. Most of the rest of it follows and tracks, but just a side note, Daikin actually is an older company. They purchased Goodman. They're not formerly Goodman, as I started in that video, so just know that going in. Parent company, Daikin Industries, Japan, acquired Goodman in 2012. Most of Daikin and Goodman's equipment is made in the Daikin, Texas Technology Park. Say that 3 times fast. It's just outside of Houston, 4.2 million square feet, one of the largest HVAC manufacturing facilities in North America. Their sub brands are Goodman and Amana. Daikin is premium. It's global technology, inverter, and VRF expertise from the Japanese side. Amana is the mid tier to premium, strong warranty reputation. Goodman is the budget workhorse. Goodman's reputation got a bad rap for years of builder grade junk. The reality is more nuanced than that. They've improved significantly under Daikin ownership. The problem is never the equipment. It was that Goodman sells to anyone with a contractor's license. So a lot of poorly installed Goodman systems gave the brand a bad name, which, spoiler, ties perfectly to where this video is going. Also worth noting, Daikin went the route with A2L refrigerants that others didn't. They chose R32 instead of 454B. I think this was a better move. It's a single component refrigerant. It's more efficient than 454. Their equipment got smaller while everyone else's got bigger. That means less expense for copper, less expense for refrigerant, and it's used universally around the world. Overall, just a better refrigerant. Number 5, Rheem. Founded in 1925, Emeryville, San Francisco, California. Brothers Richard and Donald Rheem started making steel drums, pivoted into water heaters, then HVAC. Parent company, Paloma Industries, Japan. Sub-brands are Rude, mid to premium, nearly identical to Rheem. Weather King, which is their value brand. And then in Richmond, water heaters primarily. The tier structure, Rheem is premium. Rude is essentially the same equipment with a different badge. Weather King is the budget line. Rheem and Rude are so close internally that many contractors say they're identical units with different paint and badging. Seem a little bit similar to Trane and American Standard. So, homeowners getting quoted both should know they're looking at the same machine. Rheem and Rude, Trane and American Standard, very similar. Number 6, York, founded in 1874 in York, Pennsylvania. Oldest of the bunch. The parent company is now Bosch. This was as of August 1st, 2025. Bosch acquired York plus the entire Johnson Controls residential light commercial HVAC business for about $8 billion. That's with a B. Previously under Johnson Controls since about 2006. Their sub-brands are Bosch, Coleman, Luxair, Champion, Fraser Johnson, and Gordian. The tier structure, York is premium. Coleman and Luxair are mid-tier. Champion and Fraser Johnston are value and builder grade. This Bosch acquisition is brand new and worth mentioning, and signals that York equipment may start incorporating more of their Bosch inverter and heat pump technology going forward. Bosch already makes excellent heat pumps, so this merger could shift the competitive landscape. So those are the 6 major players: Carrier, Lennox, Trane, Daikin, Rheem, York, and all their sub-brands underneath them. You now know who owns who, which budget badge is really just a premium unit in a different paint. There's a caveat to premium brands, that is, they tend to be pretty picky about who they let install their product. They are looking for companies that follow what I go over later in this video. You can't just be a nobody and walk in and say, I want to sell Daikin. Many of those premium brands are looking at a partnership. They only want to partner with companies who will represent their brand well. There are requirements the contractor is expected to meet to sell those premium brands, but in return, they get better support and better pricing from those premium brands. If you have a specific brand you're looking for, there's a thing called the dealer locator. You go to Google or Yahoo, whatever search engine you use. Does anyone actually use something other than Google these days? Maybe ChatGPT? But there you go and type in Rheem dealer locator, and it will pull up companies in your area that are partnered with Rheem. You can do this for every brand: Trane, Carrier, Daikin, and find companies who are working with those brands. This won't give everybody that's on the list, but it will give you a starting point. But here's where I'm going to tell you something that might save you more money than everything I just said. There are a couple brands I would personally steer clear of. This is just my personal opinion, and this is backed by consumer data, repair histories, and in one case, an actual class action lawsuit. All right, so brands to avoid. York, the reliability problem. Let's start with York and every sub-brand under them: Coleman, Luxair, Champion, Fraser Johnston. Now, York is the oldest name in HVAC, 1874. They've got units in the Sydney Opera House, and in LAX, pretty impressive resume. But here's the problem. Consumer Reports surveys thousands of homeowners on HVAC reliability, and of the nearly 24 brands they evaluate, York consistently lands nowhere near the top. In their latest member survey, covering more than 13,000 central AC systems, York was not among the brands that earned top reliability or satisfaction scores. And it's not just survey data. York, along with their Coleman and Lux Airlines, was the subject of a class action lawsuit over defective copper evaporator coils. You know that thing inside your home with the copper lines connected to it? It's called an evaporator coil. Homeowners were dealing with repeat refrigerant leaks, sometimes paying for coil replacements multiple times on the same unit. The same settlement eventually reimbursed owners for those repairs. But when a brand has to be taken to court over coils that keep failing, that's a pattern, not a fluke. I've spoken with contractors who say they open a York unit out of the box and it's already got problems. Homeowners report breakdowns every year like clockwork, and one of the most common complaints you'll see online is that the unit dies right after the warranty expired. Now, one of the reasons I personally have York on this list is my own history with them. About 15 years ago, we were selling a lot of Trane, the company that I was working with. We sold over 100 Trane furnaces that year. We were a smaller company back then, and we installed one York. We went back on the Trane furnaces, never, because they didn't break down. We didn't have issues with them. We went back on that York unit about 3 times. Every time it was a part that just went bad, that just stopped working. So for my own personal use, I've had a lot of issues with York, even some of the more current stuff. I have a customer who I went to very recently who was looking at replacing their furnace. It's a 10-year-old York furnace, and every year they have issues with it. They have to clean something, they have to work on something, a part goes bad. Or many of the other furnaces that I've installed throughout the years, you just service them once a year and they're good to go. Here's a wrinkle to throw into that mix. Bosch bought York back in August of 2025. Bosch makes a really good heat pump and inverter technology. So in a few years, York's equipment could be completely different. But right now, the track record is what it is. And you don't want to gamble thousands of dollars on maybe they'll be better. If the contractor leads with York or Coleman as their top recommendation, I'd at least want to know why. Number 2 on my list is Lennox. It's the proprietary parts trap. Now, Lennox makes good equipment. Their high-end Signature Series units are genuinely impressive machines. I'm not going to sit here and tell you Lennox is junk, because it's not. There are 2 things you need to know before you write a check for a Lennox system. Number 1, proprietary parts. Lennox designs a lot of their own control components, control boards, motors, even some of their electric modules. And they change those designs every few years. So when your Lennox breaks down, you can't just grab a universal part off the shelf. You need a Lennox specific replacement. And if your unit is more than a few years old, good luck. I've seen control boards take a week or more to track down. I've seen blower motors that cost 2 or 3 times what the universal equivalent would run because the universal one won't work. And while you're waiting for the Lennox part to ship, it's 95 degrees out and your family is sleeping in the basement. Number 2, price. Lennox is consistently one of the most expensive brands in residential HVAC. You're paying a premium. And a chunk of that premium is buying into a parts ecosystem that's harder and more expensive to service down the road. If you've got a Lennox Premier dealer you trust, and they're transparent about parts availability, and you understand what you're signing up for, fine. But if the contractor is pushing Lennox hard and can't give you a straight answer what happens when a proprietary board fails in year 6, I'd pump the brakes. Now here's the thing. I could keep going with this. I could tell you which brands have the best warranty, best response times, which ones fight you on claims, which ones have compressors that fail early. And maybe I'll do that in a video one day. But here's what you actually need to hear. So by now you're looking at this list of brands going, cool, I'll grab a Trane or Carrier, I'm good. No, stop, sit down. Because here's the part that the shiny brochure doesn't tell you. I've seen a bottom tier Goodman slapped into a home by a guy who actually gave a damn. And that system ran for 18 years without a hiccup. I've ripped out a premium Carrier system that was dead in 6 years because the install was a crime scene. The difference between a system that runs 20 years and one that dies in 6 isn't the name on the sticker. It's what happened on the install day, and most homeowners never see any of this. So for the rest of this video, we're not talking about brands anymore. We're going to talk about the things that actually determine whether you get your money's worth or whether you get taken. And the first one is something that happens before a single piece of equipment shows up at your house. Number one, oversizing. We're going to start with the single most common mistake I see in this industry, and it's not a brand problem. It's not a refrigerant problem. It's the fact that most air conditioners and heat pumps installed in this country are too big for the house they're cooling. I know that sounds backwards. Bigger is better, right? More cooling, more power, more. No. An oversized air conditioner is like using a semi truck to commute to work. Yeah, it'll get you there, but it's miserable, it's going to cost you a fortune, and it's going to break down sooner than it should. Here's what actually happens when your unit is too big: it blasts cold air into the house, drops the temperature fast, and then shuts off. Then the house warms up, it blasts cold air again, shuts off again. That's called short cycling, and short cycling does three things to you. First, it doesn't run long enough to pull humidity out of the air, so you feel cold but clammy. You turn the thermostat down trying to get comfortable. That runs the unit more, your power bill goes up, and you're still sticky. It's a cycle you can't win. Second, starting and stopping is the hardest thing that you can do to a compressor. Every startup is a jolt of current and a pressure spike. A correctly sized unit runs longer cycles, fewer starts, less stress, longer life. And third, an oversized unit costs more upfront. You're paying for more capacity than you don't need, and then paying again month after month, and your bills are just getting higher, and your equipment life is getting shorter. So why does that keep happening? Because a lot of contractors just replace whatever was there before. Old unit was a 4-ton, new unit is a 4-ton. They don't measure, they don't calculate, they don't look at whether you've added insulation, replaced windows, or sealed up ductwork since 1992. They just match the old size and call it a day. And here's the extra stupid part. They've been doing this so long that they're copying homework from a kid who got it wrong. The guy in 1992 oversized the unit. The guy in 2005 matched it. And now their guy in 2026 is matching a mistake from 34 years ago. Nobody ever stopped and asked what the house actually needs. This matters even more with heat pump. An oversized heat pump in heating mode short cycles just like an air conditioner. But it's also producing heat you don't need, running up your electric bill and wearing itself out faster. Plus, a heat pump's efficiency advantage over a furnace depends on it running steady, long cycles, not 5-minute blasts. The fix is called a manual J heat load calculation. Number 2, the matching scam and SEER 2 reality. There's another problem with the way equipment gets chosen, and this one is less obvious than oversizing. It has to do with SEER 2 ratings. Back in January 1st, 2023, the industry switched from SEER to SEER 2. The new test is more realistic, higher static pressure, more like what your system is actually seeing in a real duct system. The test got honest, and a lot of equipment that was rated 16 SEER under the old magically became 15.2 SEER 2 overnight. Same test, more honest. And this is the part they don't tell you. The SEER 2 rating on the Yellow Energy Guide sticker applies to a specific combination of equipment. The outdoor unit paired with a specific indoor coil. Change the coil, change the rating, and every unit has that disclaimer on the small print. This system's efficiency rating depends on the coil your contractor installs with this unit. To get what's called an AHRI rating, these need to be paired correctly. If not, a few things happen. First, your system might not deliver all its rated BTUs. Second, it might not dehumidify correctly. Third, and this is the one that stings, if your utility company is offering a rebate for high efficiency equipment, you might not get that check if the outdoor unit and indoor coil aren't a certified AHRI match. Different coils change the efficiency rating. All right, I know I could screen record this or try to, but this is what's going to work out easier. So what I'm going to do is I'm at the AHRI directory, and I'm going to go down here to air conditioning. All right, I'm going to search with Daikin because I know their stuff off the top of my brain, and it's really easy to show you this. So I'm going to put in this DC5 SEA 3010, which is a 15 SEER to 2.5 ton unit. Now, if I come over here, click this, that just means I'm not going to have matchups with furnace, and I go to search. What it's going to give us is this whole list. So it's paired with a Unico system, an ADP coil, an Aspen coil, a First Company,
And then what you'll see over here is how drastically this changes everything. I know it's a little bit harder to see, but you see that 10.5 and 12 CO2. And as we scroll down, we've got a 14 and a half. Then we've got a 15, 15.2, 14.3, 16 point, nope, 15.2. So I mean, this changes all this stuff just based off of the coil, the air handler matchup, all of that. So I scroll back out. What I'm gonna do is say we do a rated system. So CAPTA, we're just gonna put a 3, and then we'll say a DM ADVC. Actually, it should be a DR80TC. That's the current. I'll gotta unselect this, search again. And now I have all of my Daikin ratings, and we have different coils. So we have a 2.5, 3-ton coil, different size furnaces, and what you'll see is even just the furnace coil matchups will affect how your system rates. So depending upon what your contractor is putting in, you could be getting a system that's 12.5 with a 16, or you could just be getting a 12 and a 15.2. Might be 15 and a half. And so this is why it's really important to ask and say, hey, what are you actually rating? What are you putting in my home to make it make sense? Very simple thing to do. Any good contractor should be able to look this up and show it to you.
So when a contractor hands you a quote, says 16 CO2 system, ask them, show me the HRI certificate for that exact combination. That outdoor unit, that indoor coil, that furnace or air handler. If they can't provide it, you're not getting a rated system. You're getting parts that fit together, and maybe they work fine. Nobody's tested them as a pair. Number 3, the manual J. Stop guessing. We talked about oversizing and the matching scam. Both of those problems solved by one thing, a manual J load calculation. Manual J is the industry standard method for figuring out exactly how much heating and cooling a house needs. It looks at square footage, yes, but also window sizes, window orientation, insulation levels, air leakage, duct location, the number of people living in the house, even which way the house faces. A house with a big west-facing windows in Phoenix is not the same heat load as the same floor plan facing north. A house with R60 in the attic is not the same as one with R19. A house with leaky ducts in a 140-degree attic is not the same as one with sealed ducts and conditioned space. Manual J accounts for all of it. When a contractor does a manual J, they produce a block load or room-by-room report, which tells you exactly how many BTUs of heat or cooling the whole house needs or each room needs. That report tells them which size equipment to install, also tells them how much airflow each room requires, which dictates duct sizing. That's actually a manual D calculation and a manual S calculation, which are two completely different ones, but they all mix together. So here's what usually happens instead. The contractor walks in, looks at your home, and says, yep, 3.5 tons. I'll quote you 3.5 ton. That's not a heat load calculation. That's a guess. That's a guess based on what somebody guessed 15 years ago. Proper manual J takes about an hour. It costs the contractor time, and some of them charge for it. Pay it. A few $100s for a manual J is the cheapest insurance you'll ever buy against a $15,000 mistake. And if a contractor tells you they know from experience what your house needs without measuring anything, they're telling you they're comfortable guessing with your money. Section 4, ductwork, where half of your money disappears. All right, you got the right size unit, you got the right coil pairing, and you've got the manual J. System's going to be great, right? Not if your ductwork is trash. Here's a statistic that should make you uncomfortable. The average duct system in the United States leaks 20 to 30% of the air it moves. That means if your system produces 3 tons of cooling, up to 1 ton of it never reaches your rooms. It's cooling your attic. It's cooling your crawl space. Congratulations, you just bought a very expensive attic air conditioner. Duct leakage happens at joints, at takeoffs, at connection boots, at registers. Over time, tape dries out. Connections loosen. and that conditioned air you paid for just dumps into spaces it was never meant to condition. The fix is duct sealing, either mastic, we call it pookie, painted over every joint and seam at install, or an aerosol sealant like AeroSeal that pressurizes the ducts and plugs leaks from the inside. Both work. Neither happens on a cheap install. The other duct problem that gets ignored, sizing. If you drop a new high efficiency system onto ductwork that was undersized for the old system, because it was undersized then too, you haven't fixed anything. You've just put a better motor on a restricted airway. The system runs at higher static pressure, the blower works harder, efficiency drops, and on an ECM motor, high static pressure can burn it out in a few years. Now, many homes have flex duct. The flexible insulating tubing used in most residential systems has its own set of rules. It needs to be pulled tight, not kinked or sagging. It needs proper support. Saddles or strapping every 4 to 5 feet, not just draped over framing. Every sharp bend is a restriction. Every sag is a low spot that collects condensation, except here in Utah because we're a high desert and we don't have any humidity to worry about. I've been in attics where flex duct looked like a roller coaster, up and down and around and kinked under a truss. The homeowner is wondering why the back bedroom never gets comfortable. When you're getting quotes, ask the contractor how they're handling the ductwork. Are they testing for leakage? Are they sealing with mastic? Are they verifying that the existing ducts are sized for the new system's airflow requirements? If the answer to all three is, we'll see when we get it in there, you're rolling the dice with the most important half of your system. Section 5, the install, where it all goes wrong. All right, you got the right size, ductwork sorted. Now we get to the part where I've seen perfectly good equipment murdered. The installation process. I'm going to run through things you can't see when the job is done, but absolutely determine whether your system lasts 8 years or 20 years. When we connect copper refrigeration lines, we braze them together with a torch. That copper gets red hot, and on the inside, without flowing nitrogen, you get oxidation, basically black carbon flakes that form inside the pipe. You can't see them from the outside. But when that system fires up, those flakes circulate through your compressor and it's called a metering device and act like sandpaper through the entire system. And those new fancy communicating systems with their super finite adjusting EEVs, they get plugged faster than a toilet on Thanksgiving. Nitrogen purging prevents that. It's an extra step that takes 5 minutes and a tank of gas that costs a few bucks. It separates a professional from a hack. If your installer isn't doing it, ask them why. This one's newer. Press refrigeration fittings let you connect copper lines without a torch. It's a mechanical crimp with an O-ring seal designed for high pressure refrigerant. Cleaner, faster, no oxidation to worry about. Not every contractor uses them yet. Brazing gets the job done correctly when you're flowing nitrogen. But if your installer is using press fittings, that's a sign they've invested in modern tools and training. It's not the only way, but it's a good signal. After the lines are connected, you have to pull a deep vacuum on the system before adding refrigerant. This removes moisture, non-condensables, air, basically from the lines. Proper vacuum with a micron gauge should pull below 500 microns and hold. Here's what a bad vacuum looks like. The guy hooks up the pump, lets it run for 10 minutes while he's packing up his tools. Doesn't even have a micron gauge connected and calls it good. That's not a vacuum, that's hope. Here's what happens when moisture is left in the system. It mixes with refrigerant oil and forms acid. That acid eats your compressor from the inside out. You won't see it, you won't hear it, but one day, years sooner than you would like, your compressor dies. And you're told it's out of warranty. The root cause was a lazy vacuum on day one. Proper technician pulls below 500 microns, isolates the pump with a core removal tool or a ball valve, and watches the gauge. If the microns rise, there's a leak, or moisture is still boiling off. And they keep pulling. They don't leave until it's right. Or better yet, they do what's called a triple evacuation. Modern vacuum pumps are so fast that they can turn that gas into a solid and it doesn't boil off. That air turns into ice and stays trapped in the system. The workaround? Triple evacuation. They hook up their pump and pull down to about 2,000 microns. Wait 5 minutes, break the vacuum with dry nitrogen. That nitrogen helps pull the moisture out. Second pull, down to about 1,000 microns. Wait 5 minutes, break with dry nitrogen again. Third pull, this one down to 500 microns or less. If a contractor is going to go to that much level, It's going to be one good solid system. So they flowed nitrogen, they braced properly, they pulled the deep vacuum and held it. The copper is clean, dry, and tight. But clean copper and tight vacuum doesn't mean anything if the electrical work is sloppy. You'd have to have a correct breaker size, correct wire gauge. Sounds obvious, but I've seen 4-ton units on breakers that were too small and tripped constantly. And on units where the breaker was too big that they're more of a fire hazard. The manufacturer specifies minimum circuit ampacity and maximum overcurrent protection for every unit. A good installer reads the data plate, a bad one guesses. I've seen units wired with aluminum wire not rated for the connection, or copper wire undersized for a long run where voltage drop actually becomes a problem. Your compressor doesn't like low voltage. It runs hotter, draws more current, and dies younger. The right wire size matters. The copper lines running between your indoor and outdoor unit aren't one size fits all. Too small and you starve the compressor of oil return. The oil gets trapped in the evaporator instead of circulating back. Too big, you lose refrigerant velocity, which also kills oil return. Here's how to picture it. If the pipe is too big, the refrigerant velocity drops. It's like a river that slows down when the channel gets wide. The oil that should be carried back out to the compressor settles out, puddles up in the evaporator. The compressor runs dry. It's not a if it fails question, it's a when. The correct size depends on the unit capacity, the length of the run, the vertical rise. A good installer checks the manufacturer's specs. They don't just reuse what's already there because it's easier, unless it's already the right size. This one separates the pros from parts changers. You can't just dump refrigerant in and guess. A fixed orifice system gets charged by superheat. A TXV system gets charged by subcooling. Both of those numbers depend on outdoor temperature, indoor temperature, and airflow. I've walked up on units that were overcharged by 2 pounds because the installer just kept adding refrigerant until the big pipe felt cold. That's not charging, that's vandalism. An overcharged system runs with a high head pressure, stresses the compressor, and kills efficiency. An undercharged system starves the evaporator and can't cool properly. A proper charge means connecting gauges, taking temperature readings, checking against the manufacturer's charging chart, and dialing it in. It takes time. It's not negotiable. The best way to do this is to weigh in the charge. They take 15 minutes to measure out the line set length. Do some math, weigh in the charge, and then there's no guesswork whatsoever. So the charge is dialed in. The refrigerant is exactly where it should be. But you know how you know for sure? You don't, unless they actually start the system up and measure with numbers. After everything is running, the system should be commissioned, meaning the tech measures airflow, checks temperature drop across the coil, verifies the system is operating within manufacturer specs, documents it, static pressure, temperature split. You want 18 to 22 degrees between the supply air and the return air. Blower speed set correctly for the system size and duct static. If they fire it up, feel the air coming out of a vent and say, feels cold, we're good. They didn't commission anything, they guessed. Again, when the job is done right, the technician hands you a sheet with numbers on it. Subcooling, superheat, static pressure, temperature split, amp draw, all measured, all recorded, all within manufacturer spec. If they hand you nothing and a handshake and she's running great, you didn't get a commission report, you got a guess on a warranty card. So the numbers are in your hand and they're right. But here's the thing. Those numbers don't matter if the outdoor unit is sitting in a spot where it can breathe. The outdoor unit needs a level pad, not sitting on dirt, not dropped on bricks that shift over time. It needs proper clearances on all sides for airflow. Cramming a condenser against a fence or under a deck where it recirculates its own hot discharge air is a great way to make a brand new unit run like it's 120 degrees outside every day. The manufacturer specifies clearances for a reason. A good contractor follows them. A bad one puts it wherever the unit is easiest. I've seen units half sunken into the dirt, tilted at a 15-degree angle, grass growing up through the pad. I've seen condensers 6 inches from the house, when the manufacturer recommends 12. I've seen 2 units facing each other so close, their fans are practically kissing. Hot air from one blowing right into the other. This is the stuff you can't see. Walk outside, look at your unit, or the spot where they want to put it, and if it looks wrong, it probably is. Here's the part of the video that should genuinely make you angry. The industry has spent decades convincing you that the brand name on the outdoor unit is the thing that matters. That if you just buy the right logo, Carrier, Trane, Lennox, you're protected. Remember that partnership I mentioned earlier? Your system will last, your family will be comfortable, your money was well spent. Every single thing I've shown you in this video, the oversizing, the mismatched coils, the leaking ducts, the skip nitrogen purge, the lazy vacuum, the guest refrigerant charge, the unmeasured static pressure, the crooked pad, the zero clearance install. Every single one of those failures has happened on premium brand equipment. Carrier, Trane, Lennox, Daikin, all of them. The logo doesn't save you from a bad install. It never did. The difference between the system that runs 20 years and the system that is dead in 6 is what happened in your attic, at your condenser pad, and in the copper lines between them on install day. And you, the homeowner, were never told what to look for. That changes now. When you're sitting across from a contractor before you sign anything, here are 7 questions to ask. 1. Are you doing a manual JE load calculation and will you give me the report? If they say no or say I know from experience, move on. Experience doesn't measure your windows. 2. Show me the AHRI certificate for the exact equipment combination you're quoting. If they can't produce it, you're not getting a rated system. You're getting hope and a brochure. 3. Are you measuring the ductwork and checking for leaks? If you're not testing static pressure and sealing ducts, half your conditioned air might be cooling your attic. 4. Are you flowing nitrogen while you braze? This is a yes or no question. If they hesitate or ask you what that means, you've got your answer. 5. How do you pull a vacuum? And do you use a micron gauge? The right answer, we pull below 500 microns, isolate, and verify it holds. The wrong answer, we let the pump run for a bit. Number 6, how do you charge the system? By superheat, by subcooling, or just feel? If the word feel is somewhere in the answer, they're not charging, they're guessing. 7, do you commission the system and give me numbers? Static pressure, temperature split, subcooling, superheat, amp draw. If they don't hand you a completed commissioning sheet at the end of the job isn't done. Those 7 questions will filter out 80% of contractors before you even see a quote. The other 20%, those are the ones worth your money. The good ones want you to ask. The good ones want you to see that they do it right. The bad ones are hoping you don't know what questions to ask. Now you do. We covered a lot. Brands, sizing, ductwork, install, the questions you need to ask. If you made it this far, you now know more about what makes or breaks an HVAC system than most homeowners ever will, and definitely more than the salesperson in the clean polo is expecting. If this video helped you, that like button tells YouTube to show it to someone else who's about to write a check they don't need to write, and I'd appreciate that. I'm Jordan. Thanks for watching.